What if I told you there is one exercise that helps seniors rebuild leg power faster than walking, protects your knees better than most gym machines, and trains the exact muscles that keep you independent? What if I told you this exercise takes less than 10 minutes, requires no equipment, and works even if your legs already feel weak? Most people over 60 have never been told about this. Most fitness videos for seniors completely miss it. But the science has been building for years, and once you understand what's actually happening inside your legs as you age, you will never look at leg training the same way again. Here's what this video is about. There is one movement that targets the specific kind of leg strength older adults lose first, not muscle size, not endurance. Power, the ability to react, catch yourself, stand up fast, and move through the world without hesitation. Most senior fitness content tells you to walk more, walk longer, walk every day. And walking is great, but walking alone is not rebuilding the kind of legs you need. I'm going to show you exactly why, what the science actually says about aging muscle, and then give you the one exercise that addresses all of it. By the end of this video, you are going to understand your legs in a completely different way, and you are going to have a simple, practical tool you can start using today. Let's get into it. First, I need to tell you something that most fitness channels will never say. The problem with your legs as you get older is not just that they are getting smaller. The real problem is that they are getting slower. Think about that for a second. You might still be able to walk. You might still be able to stand. But can you rise quickly from a low chair? Can you catch yourself when you stumble? Can you climb stairs without gripping the rail? Can you change direction fast when something unexpected happens on the sidewalk? If any of those feel harder than they used to, that is not just weakness. That is power loss. And those two things are not the same. Muscle power is the combination of strength and speed. It is how fast your legs can produce force. And research is very clear that power declines faster than muscle mass as we age. You can still look reasonably active, you can still be walking every day, and your legs can still be losing the quality that matters most for real life. Here is why that matters so much. Falls are one of the leading causes of serious injury in adults over 60. But most falls do not happen because someone is too weak to stand. They happen because a leg could not react fast enough to catch a stumble. The foot catches a rug, the sidewalk is uneven, a step is slightly different than expected, and in that split second, your leg needs to fire fast enough to save you. That is a power problem, not a walking problem. So if you are spending most of your exercise time walking, you are training endurance. You are not training reaction. You are not training the explosive capacity your legs need to protect you. That's important. But before I give you the exercise, I want to tell you something even more surprising. Something that researchers at UCLA discovered about what is actually happening inside aging muscle. Because once you understand this, the exercise I'm about to show you makes complete sense. Your muscles are made of fibers, and those fibers are maintained and repaired by special cells called muscle stem cells. When you exercise, when you get sore, when your muscles take on stress, these stem cells are supposed to activate and start rebuilding. In younger muscle, they do this quickly. They sprint to the repair site and get to work. But researchers at UCLA found something fascinating about older muscle stem cells. They are not sprinting anymore. They are running a marathon. That is not a metaphor I made up. That is actually how the researchers described it. Aged muscle stem cells shift their behavior. They become more focused on survival, more cautious, more conservative. They are protecting themselves, which sounds good, but the trade-off is that they are slower to activate and slower to rebuild after stress. So when you challenge your legs with exercise, the repair signal is slower. The rebuilding process takes longer, and if you never challenge your legs at all, those stem cells may stay in that cautious, survival mode indefinitely. Here is what makes this really interesting. This is not just pure decline, it is a trade-off. Your aging muscle is not simply broken. It is making a choice between durability and speed. It is choosing to survive rather than sprint. The goal of training, then, is not just to build bigger muscles. The goal is to wake those stem cells back up, to give them a signal strong enough that they shift back toward repair and rebuilding. And here is the key insight. The right exercise creates that signal. The wrong exercise, or no exercise at all, does not. That's important. But there is one more thing you need to understand before we get to the exercise itself, and this one surprised me when I first learned it. There are two phases to every leg movement, the lifting phase and the lowering phase. When you stand up from a chair, the lifting phase is the push-up. The lowering phase is the controlled descent back down. Most people think the lifting phase is where all the work happens. But the lowering phase may actually be the more important one. Here is why. The lowering phase is called the eccentric phase, and eccentric muscle contractions, where the muscle is lengthening under load, are incredibly powerful for building strength and resilience. Think about everything you do in a day that requires eccentric leg strength. Sitting down into a chair, lowering yourself onto a toilet seat, walking downstairs, getting into a low car, stepping down from a curb. Every single one of those requires your legs to lower your body weight in a controlled way. And if your eccentric strength is weak, those movements feel shaky. They feel uncertain. They feel like you might just drop rather than lower yourself. That is not a balance problem. That is an eccentric strength problem. And most senior exercise content barely mentions it. Most people just focus on the pushing up, the lifting, the concentric phase. But training the lowering phase, controlling the descent, that is where a massive amount of real-world leg function lives. Now you have the full picture. Your legs are losing power faster than strength. Your muscle stem cells are in survival mode and need the right signal to rebuild, and the lowering phase of leg movement is an untapped source of strength that most people completely ignore. So what is the exercise? It is the sit to stand, also called the chair rise. I know what you might be thinking. That sounds too simple. That sounds like something for people who can barely move. I do it every time I get out of bed. How is that an exercise? Here's the thing. The sit-to-stand is not just a movement. When done with intention, with the right technique, the right tempo, and the right progression, it becomes one of the most complete leg training tools available to older adults. Let me explain what it actually trains. It trains your quads, the muscles on the front of your thighs. It trains your glutes, the muscles in your hips and backside. It trains your hamstrings and your calves. It challenges your balance and your trunk stability at the same time. It forces your nervous system to coordinate all of those muscles together. And because it mimics exactly what you do dozens of times every day, the strength you build transfers directly to real life. Not gym strength, real life strength. But here is where most people do it wrong. They just stand up and sit back down casually. No intention, no control, no challenge. That is not training. That is just moving. To turn this into a real exercise, you need to do 3 specific things differently, and each one targets a different piece of the puzzle we just talked about. Let me walk you through them. The first thing is controlled eccentric lowering. Remember how we talked about the lowering phase being the overlooked hero? This is where you put that into practice. Here's how to do it. Stand in front of a sturdy chair. Your feet should be about hip width apart. Now, instead of just plopping down, you are going to lower yourself slowly. Take 3 full seconds to lower yourself down. 1, 2, 3. Gently touch the seat, but do not fully sit. Then stand back up. That 3-second lowering phase is where the eccentric work happens. Your quads are lengthening under load. Your glutes are working hard to control the descent. Your knees are being stabilized by the surrounding muscles rather than just collapsing under gravity. This feels completely different from just sitting down casually. And the first time you do it with real focus, you will feel muscles you forgot you had. That sensation is your nervous system relearning how to control the movement. That is your legs being challenged in a way that walking never challenges them. Start with just 5 repetitions. That is enough. If 5 feels too easy, slow the lowering phase to 5 seconds. If it feels too hard, use your hands on the armrest lightly for the first rep or 2. The goal is control. Not speed, not volume. Control. Yet now here is where it gets interesting, because controlled lowering is only half the equation. The second thing is explosive standing. This is the part that most senior fitness content completely ignores, and this is the part that directly addresses power loss. After you have lowered yourself slowly and touched the seat, you are going to stand up as fast as you safely can. With intention. With drive. Push through your heels. Drive your hips forward. Stand up like you mean it. Not recklessly, not with bad form, but with speed and purpose. Here is why this matters so much. Remember how we talked about power being the combination of strength and speed? The only way to train power is to actually move fast. Slow, careful movements build slow, careful muscles. Fast, intentional movements build reactive, explosive muscles. And reactive, explosive muscles are what catch you when you stumble. They are what let you rise from a low chair without struggling. They are what make your legs feel young again, Not young in how they look, young in how they respond. There is research showing that when older adults train with maximal velocity reps, meaning they move as fast as they safely can during the lifting phase, they get better functional gains than people who only train slowly. The speed of the movement sends a different signal to the nervous system. It recruits more motor units. It trains the brain-to-muscle communication pathway. It wakes up the fast-twitch muscle fibers that are the first to go dormant with age. So the combination looks like this. Lower slowly, 3 seconds down. Touch the seat, then explode up. Fast and deliberate. That combination, slow, eccentric, fast, concentric, is one of the most powerful training stimuli you can give aging legs. And you are doing it with a chair. No gym required. But wait, because there is a third element that takes this from a good exercise to a great one. And this one is about your nervous system. As we age, one of the hidden losses is motor unit recruitment. That is a fancy way of saying the brain gets less efficient at calling your muscles into action. You have the muscle fibers. But the signal from your brain to those fibers gets weaker, slower, less coordinated. This is why some older adults feel like their legs are just not responding the way they used to. It is not always a muscle problem. It is sometimes a wiring problem. And the third element of this exercise directly addresses that. It is single leg variation. Once you are comfortable with the two-legged sit to stand, you begin shifting more of your weight onto one leg as you stand. You do not have to do a full single leg stand right away. Start by crossing one foot slightly behind the other. Put most of your weight on the front foot. Now lower slowly and stand up fast, mostly using that front leg, then switch sides. This does several things at once. It forces each leg to work independently, which reveals any imbalances between your left and right side. It challenges your balance system at the same time as your strength. It recruits the stabilizing muscles around your knee, hip, and ankle that rarely get trained with two-legged movements. And it forces your nervous system to work harder, which means better motor unit recruitment, which means stronger legs over time. Research has linked this kind of training with improvements in balance, not just muscle performance. Because stronger legs and steadier legs are not separate goals. They are the same goal. The more your legs trust themselves, the more confidently you move. And the more confidently you move, the more you move. And the more you move, the stronger your legs get. It becomes a positive cycle instead of a downward spiral. So let me put the full exercise together for you right now. This is what a complete sit-to-stand session looks like. Find a sturdy chair, kitchen chair, dining room chair, anything solid. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, about 6 inches in front of the seat. Arms can be crossed over your chest or held out in front of you for balance. Lower yourself slowly. Count 3 full seconds. Touch the seat lightly. Then stand up as fast as you safely can. Drive through your heels, hips forward, tall at the top. That is 1 repetition. Start with 2 sets of 5 repetitions. Rest for 1 to 2 minutes between sets. Do this 3 to 4 days per week. Not every day. Your muscles need recovery time, especially given what we know about how aging stem cells work. They need the stimulus, but they also need the space to rebuild. As this gets easier, you have several ways to progress. You can increase the reps. You can slow the lowering phase to 5 seconds. You can use a lower surface to increase the range of motion. You can shift to the single leg variation. You can hold a light weight at your chest. The exercise scales with you. It meets you where you are, and it grows with you as you get stronger. That is what makes it a precision exercise. Not one size fits all. Adjustable. Personal. Now I want to address something, because I know some of you are thinking, I already walk every day. Isn't that enough? Let me be honest with you. Walking is wonderful. It is good for your heart. It is good for your mind. It is good for your bones. Do not stop walking. But a study from the University of Massachusetts found that people who walked 10,000 steps per day for 6 months had minimal increases in leg strength. Their endurance improved. Their cardiovascular health improved. But their leg strength barely changed. Walking is not enough to rebuild the kind of legs we are talking about. Walking does not challenge your muscles through a full range of motion. Your quads do not fully contract. Your glutes do not fully engage. Your eccentric strength is barely touched. And your power, your reactive speed is not trained at all. Walking maintains what you have. The sit-to-stand rebuilds what you have lost. Those are 2 completely different things. And here is the beautiful part. You do not need to choose. Keep walking. Add the sit-to-stand. 10 minutes. 3 or 4 times a week. That is all it takes to start shifting the balance. Let me also talk about something that rarely comes up in these videos: the mental side of leg strength. When your legs feel unreliable, you start moving less. You avoid stairs. You avoid uneven ground. You sit more. You hold on to things more. And every time you avoid a movement, your legs get a little weaker, which makes you avoid it more, which makes them weaker. It is a spiral that starts not with a fall, but with a fear. The sit to stand breaks that spiral. Because it is a movement you do every single day, you cannot avoid it. But you can do it better. You can do it with strength. You can do it with control. And every time you do it well, your brain gets a new message. My legs work. My legs are strong. I can trust my legs. That confidence is not small. It is massive. Because the less you fear movement, the more you move. And the more you move, the stronger you get. And the stronger you get, the more your world opens back up. Stronger legs are not about looking better. They are about moving through the world with less effort, more spring, and more control. That is the real promise here. Not cosmetic, functional. That is the feeling of young legs, not how they look, how they respond. I also want to mention something about time, because I know this can feel overwhelming. You do not need long sessions. There is actually research on something called exercise snacks. Short bouts of movement, just a few minutes, spread throughout the day. And the findings are encouraging. Brief, focused sessions can still produce meaningful improvements in muscular fitness and overall function in older adults. What matters is consistency and intention, not duration, not exhaustion. So if you do 5 slow-lowering, fast-rising sit-to-stands before breakfast, 5 before lunch, and 5 before dinner, you have done 15 quality repetitions. That is a training day. That is real stimulus. That is enough to send a signal to those muscle stem cells that it is time to shift out of survival mode and start rebuilding. Small doses, frequent practice, low friction, high adherence. That is the formula that actually works in real life. Let me bring this all together. Here is what you now know that most people do not. Your legs are not just losing size as you age, they are losing power, the ability to react, recover, and respond fast. And that is the quality that matters most for staying independent, avoiding falls, and moving through the world with confidence. Your muscle stem cells are not broken. They are in survival mode. They are waiting for the right signal to start rebuilding, and the right exercise gives them that signal. The sit-to-stand, done with a slow lowering phase and an explosive standing phase, trains both sides of the equation. It rebuilds eccentric strength, the kind you use every time you lower yourself into a chair or walk downstairs. It rebuilds power, the kind you need to react, catch yourself, and move fast when life demands it. It challenges your nervous system, improving the communication between your brain and your muscles. And it does all of this with a chair, in your home, in 10 minutes or less, no gym, no equipment, no excuses. And as you get stronger, the exercise grows with you. Slower lowering, lower surfaces, single leg variations. The progression is built in.